Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Let's see. Dinnath ji, Hari Bol. You remember your name? Dinnath? Jai. I'm not sure. Still getting used to it. Dinnath Prabhu was from America. He was ecstatic kirtan leader, my goodness. He was with Prabhupada 1971 on their tour of India, leading kirtans. So we're saying page 99 of the songbook. Have you found it? Page 99. Shri Vrajadham Mahimamrit. Are the songbooks not all the same? Oh, different printing. As I remember, about 8 years ago, we copied maybe 100 songbooks. I think like 40 here, 40 at Vraj, like that. We had a center in, what was that center we had in? What was it called? Another center we had. We have one in Recto. You remember the one in Recto? And then we had another one in, what was that? That devotee, what was his name? He had some kind of building there near the university, San Antonio or something. He had a building there. We used to have regular programs there. Huh? So you found the song? Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna. Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavana Jaya Radhe Krishna Jaya Vrindavana Shri Govinda Gopinatha madana-mohan Gopinatha śyama-kund rādhā-kun Jaya Jaya keśī-ghāt Vamsivata dwādaśa-kānan rasa-līlā śrī-nanda-nandan śrī-nanda-jaśodā Jaya gopa-gan Jaya gopa-gan śrī-rama-rī Jaya Jaya dhenu-vatsa-gan You got the songbook? Anybody? Pardon? It's on the board. Try to follow it if you can. Jaya Krishna Jaya Vikida-sundari There's a book stand. Jaya Radhe Jaya ābhīra-nāgarī Jaya Jaya Krishna a-sakhā dwija-rāj Jaya Rohini Nandan Jaya Rama Rohini Nandan Jaya Jaya Vrindavana ā-bhīra-nāgarī Jaya Radhe Jaya nāga-kanyā-gan Jara-bhana śrī-rasa-man Jaya rasa-līlā Krishna dasa kohe nama Krishna dasa kohe Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavana Jaya Radhe
Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada ki jai. How many of you have been to Vrindavana? How many have been to Vrindavana? Hands up if you've been. Maybe. At least we've, let's say, associated with Vrindavana on this plain, Bhoma Vrindavana. That little tip of the iceberg which appears to give us that little bit of a little attraction or a little bit of a touch. Vrindavana acts in wonderful ways to purify our consciousness. Because to enter into Vrindavana, one has to have pure consciousness. How many have been in Vrindavana? To enter into Vrindavana, you have to have pure consciousness. How many have been into Vrindavana? We associated, you could say, with whatever way that the Dham reciprocates. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yata mam prapajyate, all together. Ye yata mam prapajyate. Yes, all the way from France. Oui, c'est français. So, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. It can also mean, as we see there's a little sign out there, not a sign, there's a little poster out there, Srila Prabhupada, Was it something about Krishna's mercy, giving his mercy everywhere, we just have to take it. The mercy is everywhere. Vrindavana is everywhere in one sense, but Sri Vrindavana appears to appear more so in that what we call attractive land is not attractive land of this material world. It's a picture of Vrindavana, and we get a little picture. As we surrender in Vrindavana, it doesn't mean what it does. It means as we give up our false ego, and as we just simply allow the holy Dham, the dust of the Dham, the resonance of the Dham, the sounds of the Dham, everything to enter into our hearts, the more the Dham will reciprocate. The more we're trying to measure the Dham, it's, in terms of material perspective, the less the Dham will reveal itself. It may be a little attractive, maybe we like the temples, maybe we're fascinated by some of the features of the Dham, the cows, the forests, whatever we can see as a forest, the kunds, rādhā-kun, I can see rādhā-kun here in front of us. There you see in the rādhā-kun, it's hard to describe, but partially to the right there is Raghunath Das Goswami's Samadhi, and on the left side is Jana the bike, where Jana used to sit and chant Hare Krishna and take her bath in Rādhā-kund, and Radha Gopinath's temple behind, inside, like that. It reminds us of the spiritual world. And on the painting over on the left side, of course, everyone probably familiar with this scene. This is Govardhan Hill. Perhaps one of the most famous sights of Vraj. Many of you have circumambulated Govardhan. How many of you have circumambulated Govardhan Hill? As whatever we can understand, it means to circumambulate Govardhan Hill. Walking around Govardhan Hill, maybe we're thinking, how much longer? How many, we're looking at our GPS or whatever we got on our hands. How many more kilometers? Will there be a sugarcane stand coming up soon?
Sugar cane.
Huh?
So tasty, the sugar cane. So tasty, the sugar cane juice.
Sugar cane juice.
Yeah.
It's not far, probably another 5 kilometers. We're measuring, huh? Sometimes. How many hours? We, group of us, we took the advantage just recently, a few weeks ago. We all circumambulated Govardhan Hill. For a short while, Radha-charan and Janani-vas joined us also, maybe for 1 hour or something. We were stopping here and there, and it's amazing. Even though we may not be so surrendered, it's a fact, it's an act of surrender. Why do we walk around Govardhan Hill? Materially speaking, it's, well, I guess it depends on your vision, but it's not necessarily, mundane perspective. Something which would seem exceptional. The hill is not very tall, maybe 20 meters tall, maybe 25 at the highest. Not very tall. And it's dusty sometimes. Actually, we were one sense fortunate. It rained a little bit, just a little bit, so it was a little cooler, and the soil was a little cooler. Krishna has his ways of reciprocating. And we met up with Jagadananda Prabhu. He is living at Govinda-kund, maybe you know. He's looking after the cows in a goshala at Govinda-kund. We took breakfast there, right? Remember? He had nice prasadam there at Govinda-kund. He arranged nice prasad. Somebody did. And like that we were able to bathe in Govinda-kund all the way around Puncharidi. The tail of Govardhan is sometimes compared to like a peacock. So the tail, the end of the tail of Puncharidi, and then back round again, all the way round past Manisi Ganga, various other places, Sarabi, Kund, different places. Eventually we came back to rādhā-kun and śyama-kund. Very nice. Even if we don't know what's going on practically, even if our heart is normally not very pure, that's an incredibly purifying effect. This is a special mercy of Govardhan, special mercy of Vrindavana. Just by coming into contact with whatever form the Dharma yields or reciprocates, there's always some mercy there. We just have to take it. We just have to take the opportunity. And we also had a chance to go to Varshana with Dinabandhu Prabhu came with us, several other senior devotees, one or two other sannyasis also joined us. And a very nice parikrama with Dinabandhu Prabhu around Varshana. Many of you have been there. This song, which we just sang, gives us a little picture of Vrindavana. We'll read the translation. All glories to Radha and Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavana. Because Vrindavan means the forest of Vrindavana. We don't see much forest. Some trees of various kinds here and there, no doubt. Not so much of what we would call a thick forest. Very little. We cannot see with our material eyes. Atakshri Krishna namati, nabhavad gwayamindriya, sevamukha hijivado, shvayameva sparatsida. What can we see with our material eyes? What do we see? Even the deities, what we see, you may see they are very attractive, beautiful, transcendental, say what we will. But in reality the deity is the seer, we are the seeing. The essence of devotional service, Prabhupada said, don't try to see Krishna, act in a way that Krishna will see you. We are the seeing. We're not the, we could say we have that capacity to see also, but primarily Krishna is the seer. We are the seeing. So we want to, just imagine if you're, depending on your nature, but you like to see things which are attractive according to our particular senses and mind. And so does Krishna. He likes to see a pure heart. A heart full of devotion, free of material desire, free of selfishness, free of envy, free of greed, free of lust, anger, illusion, madness, and so on. A heart saturated with devotion. How to achieve or how to purify that heart? We all know the simple process of madana-mohan, chanting the holy name of Krishna. Particularly stated, we just heard the verse of Dakshri Krishna Namati. With our material senses, we cannot see Vrindavan, we cannot see Krishna, we can't truly enter in the association of those who are more advanced, those who are residents of the Dham. We read in the Nectar of Instruction that we should perform devotional service under the direction of the eternal residents of the Dham. They're actually in the Dham, even though they appear sitting next to us. We may say we're in the same place. Externally we may appear to be, but their consciousness is in a different realm. Their consciousness is completely pure. Their consciousness is totally, you could say, like one with the Dham or with the will of the Lord. And by associating with such eternal associates of the Lord, our consciousness can become purified. And by that what that association means, they give us guidance. They give us their association. They chant the holy names for our purification, the pleasure of Krishna. They speak Krishna Katha. They engage us in devotional service. They teach us how to become pleasing to Krishna. This is the essence. To become pleasing to Krishna. That is our eternal constitutional position. And that's the nature of the spiritual world. Every resident, every thought, every step, every act is simply for the pleasure of Krishna. Nothing else. The way they dress, everything, their complexion, their decorations, they don't do it for material reasons, because they want to show off. They're doing it in such a way that they're simply trying to bring pleasure to Krishna. They're not interested in their own pleasure. Their only interest is Krishna's pleasure. This is the Dham. Vrindavan Dham is only for the pleasure of Krishna and of course his eternal associates, but primarily for the pleasure of Krishna. So we learn from those associates how we can behave in such a way which will be pleasing to Krishna. How we can treat all of his devotees, is every living entity is Krishna's parts and parcels. Everyone. Even though they've forgotten in this world, the business of the Krishna consciousness movement is to remind us all that we are the eternal servant of Krishna. And the pure devotees, by their very life itself, remind us of our relationship with Krishna. They live for Krishna. They have no purpose of existence except for the pleasure of Krishna. Quite a transformation from our present situation, where we're mostly concerned with how I see it, how I feel, how I would like it. We're learning. That's where sadhana comes in. That's the whole process of, let's say, channeling our propensity in the service of Krishna. And by hearing about topics concerning Krishna, it helps to change our hearts. Instead of hearing topics about the mundane world, when we hear topics about Krishna, they are purifying. Topics of the mundane world are binding. They're contaminating. They're causing future suffering. But when we hear topics about Krishna, they release us from our bondage in this material world. They cut that knot of material illusion. So the pure devotees, they may not initially give, you could say, very much in terms of constant, because we're not quite ready to digest. Just like a sick person can only eat so much. Otherwise they may get sicker. And they have to eat that which is appropriate to their condition. So the pure devotees, and in a hospital also, sometimes they have to prepare the patient for an operation or for a dosage of medicine. Their health is not strong enough. So in the beginning stages of devotional service, we have to cleanse our consciousness, purify our hearts, so that gradually we can digest Krishna Katha, topics concerning Krishna and his eternal associates in our relationships. And as we become purified and more attracted to these topics, one may become eligible to actually enter into Vrindavana, to enter into the Dham, to enter into the pastimes of the Lord. The Lord appears here as Radha-Madhava Panchatattva to give us this opportunity to render service, to serve him in a way which he likes. Artis, keeping the temple clean, regulation, cooking nice preparations for his pleasure, decorating him and his beloved very nicely, flowers, fragrant flowers, offering very aromatic incense, ghee lamps, various items for his pleasure. And singing. He loves to see the devotees in the temple. He loves to see anyone in the temple, dancing, chanting, or just hearing, coming to the temple. In front of him, he likes to see his parts and parcels. Many different ways we can attract, or let's say satisfy Krishna. Bringing gifts to offer to Krishna, bowing down in front of the deities, cleaning the Lord's temple, and so on. In this way. Amazing. But unfortunately we have a little pride. Damba, it's called damba. Pride. I was reading yesterday a very fascinating story of Arjuna and Krishna. They were going by the river Jamuna somewhere, and they saw there was one jambuka. A jambuka is a jackal. And the jackal, there was a dead body lying on the ground. And this jackal, who normally they eat dead bodies of course, was simply circumambulating the dead body and sniffing it. sniffing the different parts. Arjuna thought, this jackal, this jambuka is crazy. Any moment some other animal will come along, some dogs or something, and chase it away, and it will lose its opportunity. What a stupid jackal. It's simply walking around sniffing. Krishna understood what was going on. But Arjuna thought this jambuka is stupid. He was a little proud. Even Arjuna, a little proud. So then they went closer, and Krishna asked, Jambuka, why are you doing this? Oh, Jambuka said, if I smell the feet, I can tell if this human has ever walked to a holy place of pilgrimage. If I smell its hands, I can tell if this human has rendered service to the deity. If I smell its mouth, I can tell whether this human has taken prasadam. Around and round he went to every limb, sniffing to see if that limb had been engaged in devotional service. And he said, if it hasn't, I will not touch it. If only the legs have been to a place of pilgrimage, I will only eat the legs. He was going like this. He said, because if I'm fortunate enough in this way as a jambuka to eat the flesh of somebody who's been to a holy place, I may be delivered from my jambuka body. Arjuna was stunned, astonished. He said, this jambuka is much more advanced than I am. He became a little proud. We sometimes measure others' service according to our own performance, looking up or down or sideways. But Krishna sees differently. It doesn't matter what species we're in. He sees the consciousness within. Living entity is acting according to his conditioned state. So Krishna sees how much according to that conditioned state. The living entity is seeing it in relationship to him, and not just in relationship to one's own sense gratification. Digesting as much as we can, or when we chant the Maha Mantra, whatever service it is, if we try to be attentive, if we try to remember why we're doing it. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, on many occasions, in all your activities, be conscious of me. Depend always on me. 18th chapter especially. Last basic instructions of the Lord, to become conscious of him. That's what we're here for. All the rules and regulations are there to help to regulate ourselves, control our senses, direct our senses towards Krishna, but ultimately to always remember Krishna and never forget him. Unfortunately, we're not quite at that level, but this is the process. And of course, the more we fill our hearts with mundane thoughts, then the slower the process will be. It can take lifetimes after lifetimes. The quicker, if we want to, and this is what mercy means. It's not some magic, exactly. It is in one sense, but in another sense it's not. The mercy is simply the pure devotees of the Lord are giving us that boat to cross the ocean. We have to just get on board. The ocean of material existence is certainly very difficult to cross, and the pure devotees make it possible. We just have to get on board and stay on board and be careful how we behave on board, so we don't get thrown off or fall off. Not difficult. It's difficult because we're still attached, and we're still not so straightforward sometimes, a little crooked. But otherwise it's not so difficult. We just have to absorb ourselves in devotional service. Many times prophets say, 24 hours a day, that's all. Just try to keep busy in one form or another. Hearing, chanting, serving, remembering, worshipping, praying, and so on. In devotional service as they give us guidance. And then gradually our hearts will become cleansed. especially kirtan. For Kali Yuga, this is the most effective means of bhakti, of devotion, kirtan. Coupled with prasadam, and the vast majority of the population is their only hope. It's our only hope. We have no real qualification for anything else. It's Kali Yuga. Hari Nama, Hari Nama, Hari Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatiranata. So let us absorb ourselves now in Vrindavana. Listen carefully. All glories to Radha and Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavana. You try to, in your heart, try to, whatever you understand or have heard, try to visualize the forest of Vrindavana, Radha and Krishna. All glories to the three presiding deities of Vrindavana, Sri Govinda, Gopinath, and madana-mohan. All glories to śyama-kund, rādhā-kund, Govardhan Hill, and the Yamuna River, the Kalindi. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavan, where Krishna and Balaram displayed all of their childhood pastimes. All glories to keśī-ghāt, where Krishna killed the Keśī demon. All glories to the Vamshi-vata tree, where Krishna attracted all the gopis to come by playing his flute. Glories to all the 12 forests of Vraj. All these places, the son of Nanda, Sri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glories to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. All glories to the cowherd boys, headed by Sridama, the older brother of Srimati Radharani and Ananga Manjari. All glories to the cows and calves of Vraja. All glories to Radha's divine father and mother, Vrishabhanu, and the beautiful Kirtida. All glories to Purnamasi, the mother of Santipani Muni, grandmother of Madhumango and Nandimukhi, and beloved disciple of Devarshi Narada. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Vraja. All glories to Gopishwar Shiva, who resides in Vrindavana in order to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmin friend, Madhumango. All glories to Rama-ghāta, where Lord Balaram performed his rasa dance. All glories to Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini. All glories to all of the residents of Vrindavana. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedic Brahmanas. All glories to the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Through pure devotion, they all obtained the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the rasa dance of Sri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shyam. All glories to the divine rasa dance, which is the most beautiful of all of Krishna's pastimes. All glories to the mellow of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas, and is propagated in Vraj by Sri Krishna in the form of the divine Padaki above, Paramore love, remembering the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda's consort, Sri Janava-Devi, this very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna, sings the Sankirtan of the holy name. Jai. Shri Vrindavana ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Well, it's 8 o'clock, just gone. Are there any questions? We didn't get, and I want to take this book upstairs afterwards to my room. This one. Any questions? Yes, Peter Pan. You have to speak quite loudly because there's a loud sound behind me. My hearing is not probably as good as it could be.
So, going to the holy town, I can remember the river we were talking earlier.
The river? If we turn it off for a minute, I can hear what he's saying. Turn it off for a minute. Does it go off or not? No? Oh, have a mic, okay. No, it's okay, they have a microphone apparently. Okay.
So before going to India, we have to be really pure to see the water, I mean the holy dam.
Well, even if you're not pure, if some another, you go there and you associate with those who are purer, you still get great benefit. There's great benefit from going to the holy dam. The more we associate, even if we're not pure, at least the desire to become pure, the desire to hear, the desire to serve, the desire to be there. And even if you don't have the desire, the residents of the Dham do desire, and they desire that you become purified. So all around, the Dham is very merciful. So, yes, of course. But no, none of us are completely pure. And one of the main ways that one can become purified is to visit the holy Dham, or to visit a temple. That's why temples are there. The temple also is a holy Dham. They may not be so visible in some ways, you could say, or so apparent, but it is a holy Dham. When we come before the deities, into their homes, into their room, we're entering their Dham, the place where the Lord resides. So we become purified by entering that Dham. One becomes purified. So of course, the more pure we are, the more we'll appreciate, the more we'll be able to enter into the spirit of the Dham. And we'll be able to, when Lord Chaitanya from Mahaprabhu, for instance, was traveling in India, he was, wherever Lord Chaitanya goes, that is Vrindavan. Wherever a devotee goes, it's said that's Vrindavan. We may not carry that spirit so much, but pure devotees do. They always remind us of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So wherever Lord Chaitanya went, Advaitacharya said, "My Lord, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan." So he went all over India, South India, everywhere, chanting the holy names, and everywhere he went, ordinary people became, even animals became enlightened and ecstatically dancing and chanting. They came to the spiritual platform, they became purified, and wherever they went, they also purified. So when we go to Sri Vrindavan Dham, we hear about the Dham, we hear about the process of becoming eligible to enter into the Dham. We try to engage in that process as much as we can within the Dham, and there's said to be 1,000 times benefit by engaging in the Dham, in devotional service. So many benefits are there, and if we do have some offensive, or let's say some kind of impurities which need to be dealt with, the Dham is very merciful. We understand Mayapur Dham is Odarya Dham. You could say it's much more gentle and less, doesn't take into account defensive mentality and so much as in Vrindavan Dham, etc. More merciful sometimes. Vrindavan Dham is merciful in another way. Very quickly you feel you get sick or you have something happens, you lose something happens. You see things change real quick in Vrindavan. It's not like all the rest of the world. Very amazing experiences. If you're lucky. If you're not so lucky, the Dham doesn't reciprocate so much. Unique reciprocation of each and every entity there. What is that? With each and every entity that enters the Dham reciprocates accordingly. So it becomes purified in different ways. The main thing when we go to the Dham is to try to associate with the devotees, the service devotees. And of course they take that spirit of Vrindavan. Prabhupada lived in Vrindavan for many years. His desire was to take Vrindavan all over the world, the mood of Vrindavan all over the world. The mood of Vrindavan means everything is for Krishna's pleasure. There is no envy. There are no inebriates. Everything's for Krishna's pleasure. We try to create that wherever we are throughout the world, of doing everything for Krishna's pleasure and transforming, let's say, connecting everything in that mood of Vrindavan in our lives. So devotional service, whether here or in Vrindavan or anywhere, come to that, is our preparation to really, truly enter into Vrindavan. Entering into Vrindavan is not a physical maneuver. It's not a physical maneuver, it's a state of consciousness. State of consciousness. That consciousness becoming purified. Anything else? Jaya Radhe Jaya. Anything else? Yes, Indravali.
Maharaj, thank you for being with us. And actually, when you mentioned if you become conscious of me, we will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness but act according to
false ego, you'll be lost. Yeah.
So this is really very encouraging verse. Like every day we've been through a lot, and
every day we've
been through a lot of difficulties.
A lot of difficulties, yeah.
Yes, difficulties in such a way.
Difficulties are there.
Yes.
In this world. This world is dukkhalayam shashvatam. Now we can look at difficulties, whatever they may be. I mean, some of them, of course, are very hard to deal with. We can look at them in different ways. Many different ways. We can look at them as, oh, this is too much, I give up. Oh, I will find some material way to deal with this. You can look at it, I am going to overcome this difficulty. No, come what may, I will conquer over. Different ways we can look at what we call difficulties. Or we can look at, actually there's difficulty at every moment. Samasratiye padapala-vaplavam mahatpadam punyashama. We may not see it, Prabhupada himself said. He said, actually you're in difficulty at every moment. Not just when you see it relatively difficult. Every moment is difficult, in one sense. So why are the difficulties there? Well, we can give a simple example. Even in Vrindavana Dham, we see that Krishna leaves the rasa dance, for instance. We see he leaves Vrindavana apparently, and the residents of Vrindavan find themselves in a kind of a terrifying, almost unbearable, difficult situation. Sometimes Krishna arranges apparent difficulties even in their path within Vrindavan. Sometimes snakes appear. Very difficult, blocking the path. What do? This is what it means to learn from the residents of Vrindavana. Do they give up on Krishna when he's not there, or when it seems like, we could look at Srila Prabhupada, did he give up despite all of the obstacles or difficulties in trying to fulfill his Guru Maharaj's order? Did he give up? Did he give up? Not at all. He took more shelter. The whole point is that we can see these difficulties even within our hearts when we chant Hare Krishna. You will have probably no end of other thoughts coming into your mind. Probably. Something happens, or we just go blank. We just space out. So we can take it differently. We can follow those desires. We can get angry over those desires that come in, or whatever they are. We can, we can become like determined to kind of like kick them out. We may have different approaches. Some are more, say, Krishna conscious than others. But we take shelter of Krishna knowing there's no way we can overcome these difficulties. Krishna himself says that in the Bhagavad Gita, doesn't he? Doesn't he? You just mentioned that one verse, there's another more famous verse, isn't there? Daivi yeshu gunamaya mamaya. This material world is this material energy is very difficult to overcome. So it's there as a test for the devotees. It can actually be seen favourably. That it's an impetus for us to take shelter of Krishna. Which is really the purpose of our movement. So they can be seen as, although it may seem like, oh no, this is all of our plans have been ruined, for whatever reason it is, something happened, everything went wrong, somehow or another these things may appear to happen, but it's an opportunity to, Krishna knows what's best for us. He places us in situations. In the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, a very famous verse, which we many times discussed, Tattenu kampam susamikshamanam bhajana evatma pitabhikakam. When a devotee seems to be placed into difficulty in a suffering condition, in that condition, he simply takes shelter of Krishna, glorifying Krishna, not even asking, not even demanding Krishna some order supply. That's a very lowly stage of devotion. Krishna as an order supplier. He's supplying for everyone, certainly whatever their needs are, but for a devotee, he reciprocates accordingly. And his according reciprocation is to take away whatever, just like he did from Arjuna just now. He took away an element of pride in Arjuna's heart. He took it away. He took away pride even in Uddhava's heart. When he came across the gopis and the residents of Vrindavana, Uddhava realized, although people thought he was a great devotee and everything, he realized he's nothing. He has no real devotion at all compared to the residents of Vrindavana. So Krishna's always acting, or at least he's giving us this opportunity, whether we take it or not. He wants us to go back to Godhead. But as long as pride is there, as long as some self-centered motivation is there, then we're not eligible. We're on the path, hopefully. So he sometimes places us in situations where we're obligated, if we really want to move, we have to take shelter. So difficulties are there. It's not karma. We sometimes think, oh, I've got bad karma. But the commentators say, or acharyas say, it's not. Krishna's special arrangement to give us this opportunity is a form of mercy. It's a form of mercy to remove the very mentality which causes us to think or act in a certain way. This type of change has to take place. Sometimes it's very, takes some time, sometimes it's not easy. We need help sometimes. If we're willing to take it, Krishna will give it. If we're not willing, then usually we go backwards and we have to come there again later on. The Krishna is giving us always a chance to go forward. Just like Indra, he became proud, Brahma became proud, sometimes the Lord become a little proud, and Krishna tears, I don't say tears one down, Krishna wants to remove that pride from our hearts. He wants to remove that envy from our hearts. So sometimes he frustrates us, sometimes we feel whatever, difficulty of some kind or another. But difficulties are things we see when we lose sight of the goal. So the whole idea is that these are impetuses to try to help us to focus on the goal. They say at night, you can only see the moon at night. We can see it in the day, but it's not very bright. You can't see the stars at all. But at night is a special feature. In those difficulties and those darknesses, when one turns to Krishna, in those difficulties, that's when we can really make advancement. Instead of just, lamenting or fighting or giving up or whatever it is, complaining. So that choice we have is another form of mercy. Krishna is all merciful to his devotees. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Become conscious of Krishna. Sometimes again, we have this other idea when we said danger at every step. When things are going well, sometimes we forget and we think we're the doer. When things are not going well, we sometimes blame someone else, or maybe we turn to Krishna. In the material world, generally when things are difficult, people start praying to God. Please save us, whatever it is. When things are going very, very well, generally they may pray, but not in the same way. Please free me from the false ego of thinking that we are the doer. Whatever mercy you bestow upon us, my Lord, that we accept as whatever is your will, whatever we deserve. They don't generally pray like that, very rarely. There's people, devotees sometimes, that think that external results are a sign of success or a sign of devotion. They may or may not be. They may be also to some degree, and you see that especially when you go distributing books. I don't know if anyone here distributes books on the streets anymore of Manila or Philippines. Do we have any book distributors here?
During Food for Life, we distribute.
Yes, yeah, but I mean going out every day for like 8 hours a day on the streets distributing books in the high street down in Recto or in Makati or somewhere. No one's doing that, are they? No more. I mean, we used to do more or less like that. Yeah. And of course in Philippines, every country has its different flavor. But if you go out in Paris, for instance, Paris is, if you haven't heard of Paris, it's a little place in France, is that right? It's a little place in France. You may have heard it, I don't know. Paris. You heard of Paris? Yeah? Paradise. So Paris, sometimes you go on the street trying to distribute books like Mananda Prabhu. Hours and hours go by, not one person even stops what the speaker takes a book. Happens to even the good distributors, right? Sometimes those days, Krishna's testing here was so difficult. You're already having a hard time and someone comes along and starts shouting at you, "Sect! You cult member!" Yeah. Right? Sometimes those things happen. Go away! I call the police! And sometimes this happens. And you're already having a hard time, you know. Oh no. And then some days the books are flying. Thinking, wow, I'm doing really good today, it's my day. Right? And then what happens? Stops the meeting. In 2 hours, not a single book goes out. Krishna, it's not numbers, it's not this or that. It's just, Krishna wants us to become conscious of Him. We're instruments for His pleasure. There's not so much, thinking, I'm doing well today. I'm going to be top today. Krishna has his ways of dealing with each devotee to remove that false ego, this false identity. Hare Krishna. You should try it one day. Have a book marathon. Have you got any books left? Do we have any books?
No more stuff.
Huh?
Only Bhagavad Gita Maharaj.
In English? You have a lot? How can you distribute books if you don't have them?
We only have Who Am I, the Filipino
The magazine.
magazine.
Well, maybe finances are one consideration, time and circumstance, but if you don't have books, if you want to distribute books, there are many aspects you can look at it from, but there are 4 basic principles, and one of those is if you don't have books, you can't distribute books so easily. The first thing, you can, but it's not the same. You can sort of, promise somebody you're going to be getting the books and sort of sell them in advance, but that's probably very difficult here. The Southern distribution, he hasn't been out once since he's been in the Philippines. Give it a go, but we need some books.
We have chant and we have
In English, Bhagavad Gita, Science of Self-Realization, what's it called? Sinowako? Sinowako.
We already ordered Maharaj.
Huh?
We already ordered books before the pandemic, but no books came to the Philippines.
Before the pandemic, that's 3 years ago or more.
Yes,
Pretty slow.
We sent 70,000 pesos. 700,000 pesos.
700? Where from?
From Mahindra, from no books came.
Well, he was supposed to order them, was he?
We ordered through Madha Prabhu.
Through who?
Madha Prabhu, the Indian. But no books came.
Well, that's not good. That has to be followed up on. You have to have books. Books are the basis of our movement. The movement spreads through book distribution primarily. What form we distribute is another thing. You have to have books. You have to show the books and you have to organize it. And you also have to have good spiritual practices as a foundation. Now, Dr. Seva here has already finished, right? You finished the translation of SSR? Pardon? Yes? He's finished the translation of Science of Self-Realization into Filipino. So that if the yatra should get it together and start thinking about book distribution.
It's our plan to, actually I already requested from one of the professors from UP. He's been practicing Maharaj. His name is Dr. Wilson Fajardo. So I already requested him to read and also telling Prabhu Mahindra
to read the translation?
Yes,
Good.
The translation and edit.
That's good. He's an English teacher, did you know that?
Yes.
That was before. So I'm sure maybe there's always some little changes which need to be made, but we need books in Filipino also. Very important. The Higher Taste has been ready for printing for the last 12 years. I don't know what happened to it. We finished the manuscript 12 years ago. The money was collected to print it. I just don't know what ever happened to it all. We left it in the hands of certain devotees and nothing ever got done.
Please bless us, Maharaj, so that we can push ourselves.
The blessings are there. There's the whole disciplic succession's blessings are there. You don't need a little peanut like me. The parampara, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, the whole parampara is blessing you. But we have to take those blessings, that's all. Prabhupada gave his life for book distribution. He struggled alone. We went to Delhi after Vrindavana and we visited a place called Chippewada in Delhi. You remember that? Did you come that day? You didn't. You were tired that day, I remember. And this was where Prabhupada spent many years in Chippewada in Delhi. And that's where he produced, well, let's say, worked on the production and actually printed the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, and many of our other literatures back to Godheads and one or two small books were produced when he was in Chippewada. He would go most of the time either in Chippewada, all the time practically in Chippewada or in Radha Damodar temple, back and forth. But a lot of the time he was in Delhi, and this is like a little tiny street. It's hardly a street, it's just a with walking lanes, isn't it? Such a crowded area of Delhi. And on one side is like full of Muslim people, no problem, but all Muslims, and the other side is mostly Hindus. And it's so crowded, it's the most crowded corner of Delhi, most crowded, congested part of Delhi. And Prabhupada was living there. You know, and somebody had given him a little room above a temple building some in Chippewada, is the name of the district. And now that belongs to ISKCON. ISKCON's purchased that building. You can go there. But that's where it really happened. That's why this movement's here, because Prabhupada was in Chippewada. We don't hear much about that. But that's really where the book distribution started. In our ISKCON anyway, in this movement. Actually, Siddhanta Maharaj started it. But Prabhupada's, mission, book distribution, if ever you get many print books, really started there in Chippewada. Just around the corner is one of the two printers, OK Printer, another one I forgot the name. And they were printing, and Prabhupada was alone, on his own. He would walk 1 or 2 kilometers to the printer to save 5 paise. He had no money. In the heat, in the cold, he would personally go and purchase the paper and supervise it on a rickshaw to take it over to the printer to save a couple of rupees. Because he had no money to print the book. He couldn't afford to print the books. The printer agreed, okay, you give what you can, and when you give more, I'll give you more books. He let the printer get the books, and probably had to buy them, like 100 at a time. He couldn't get all of them at once. He was alone, trying to distribute these books in Delhi. He bought 200 sets to America, and he was alone going around in America trying to sell the sets. This whole movement is based on foundations, on book distribution and chanting Harinam Sankirtan. These are the 2 main activities of this movement, and sometimes we forget that. Once a week, or sometimes temples don't even do that, they go out on Harinam once a week. Sometimes not even that. 90% of devotees don't go out at all on Harinam. You can hardly wonder whether we're really a member of the Hare Krishna movement. But that's what it's all about. Every devotee should have books for distribution if they want to be a member of this movement, in reality. Put them in your bag when you go shopping. Put them in your bag when you go to work, when you go to school. Always have a book available. But maybe you meet someone, you can give it to them or sell it to them or whatever. But some or another, show it to them. Even if they don't take it, they get benefited. So this is the... Prabhupada sacrificed his life for this. And so do everything you can to get those books, whatever. I don't know what's happened there. It sounds like something's gone wrong in the communication or something. But there shouldn't be like that. Even when devotees, we just bought about 200 kilos of books in Vrindavana, and we're carrying them by hand back to France. About 9 of us altogether. Everyone's got like 23 kilos of books in their baggage. Books we can't get in Europe, Bengali books, Hindi books, Tamil books, like that. Save money. Prabhupada's motive. So we can get the books out there for the public. It's very most important part of Prabhupada's mission was the book publication and the distribution. So please try your best to make that an important part. There should be a book table. Where's the book table? Where's your book table? Have you got one on the front here? You got a shop somewhere maybe? I don't know. The book distribution. Maybe in a shop there's some books. If you want to, Danatai, Prabhu, if your health allows, who would go out with Danatai? We need one local devotee. You'll go out, right? You go out with Danatai. I know you're not a big book distributor, but you do know the language and you do know the place. It's English. In Makati, everyone speaks English, right? Yes. Everyone in Makati. You have to. It's the business district. But who else is a book distributor? Who like to do book distribution? But you're a full-time cook.
Yes.
You have no time to... You like to go out? You like to go on book distribution? Yeah? You put her hand up. Some other hands went up at the back. I can't see the person underneath the hand. Huh? Where's Harinamananda? Where is he? Harinamananda? There he is. Haribol. Would you like to go out with Danatai on book distribution tomorrow or Friday?
Not tomorrow,
Friday? In the morning. I'm talking in the morning.
If possible, during her, because we have a
Huh?
schedule for this week.
You see if you can arrange for one of these devotees to go out with Dan. He doesn't know where to go, he doesn't know what to say, he doesn't know, he knows what to say, sort of, but Filipinos, everyone's a little different than other places, you know.
You can go to Chinatown.
Huh? No, just go to Makati.
Go to Makati.
Yeah, just an hour or two. It takes over an hour to get to Chinatown. Chinatown's not good for book distribution. You have to think, there's Chinese people? Whoa. Anyway, see what tomorrow morning, the best time is the morning. Morning's the best time for book distribution. You know, up to midday, or up to 1 o'clock like that. Oh yeah, you're only having English books anyway. You don't have any, we have some magazines in Filipino. Yeah, they all speak English. It's a business district, you know. That doesn't mean they're all businessmen, but it's the you know, the most, you could say the richest part of the Philippines. Well, that's why one local devotee, you just have to go about half a kilometer. Then you start Makati, the business district, and move in a little bit. So you go in a little bit more where there's more kind of like, you know, let's say people moving around, lots of people. Be interesting. Yeah, no problem. You don't get much money. You don't need to worry about the money. It's not important. Yeah, well, all that can be told. It's not difficult. Not difficult. Haven't you got any of those old books, those Prabhupada books, or those Bhagavatams? None of those left anymore? We had 10,000 copies of the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1 and Prabhupada. Did the termites eat them all?
Yes.
They ate them all. Okay, it's called food for life. Food for termites. Huh?
But we have from Jumong, they already
Some what?
created 40 sets of Srimad-Bhagavatam, so they are coming.
40 sets. Well, that's not something you distribute on the street. That's for, you know,
Other small
members.
books are coming.
There's some Sankirtan books. Anyway, we'll sort it out tomorrow, okay? If you want. No pressure. And if there's one, there has to be one local devotee to go out with you, to be with you. You do the talking, not them, because he's an experienced book distributor. Most of us are not. He's saying no, but I mean, he may not be a big book distributor. He has years of experience on the street distributing books in France. They say if you can distribute books in France, you can distribute books anywhere. Adi Carter, one of the world's top book distributors, said the hardest place he's ever been in his life, and he's been to hundreds of countries, he said was France. But it's changing. I mean, the people are becoming more favourable. Sometimes the devotees do 100, not Bhagavad Gita. Has anyone done 100? Yeah, they did over 100 in the marathon, didn't they? Gauranataraj did over 100 last marathon in one day. Yeah, he did 108 in one day during the last marathon. Usually they do anything. I mean, if you go out all day with a real go for it, you do 20, 30, 40 liters. Yes, Harinam-Ananda.
Radhika told me that he is the one who really proves.
What is this?
Radhika-raman Prabhu
Radhika-raman, where is he? Here he is. Hey, here's the big man, big book distributor.
They just arrived from the land.
Huh?
They were cleaning the land, the property. Preparing for the groundbreaking.
Oh, you're preparing for the groundbreaking?
This Saturday.
I haven't got any time, you're busy, huh? Oh, what a shame. Make sure you have a nice book table at the groundbreaking ceremony, okay? There's nothing like book distribution as far as, you know, feeling of connection with the Parampara, with Prabhupada and their Parampara. Prabhupada said one time, he said, the best way to overcome the mind's kind of like disturbances and thinking of so many things is to always think of how to spread Krishna consciousness. Not just think how I can, you know, just be around, but how I can be a part of the spreading.
We need a trainer.
Huh?
I mean, we need a devotee who has skills and experience.
Radhika-raman, you have skills in book distribution?
Darjindra Prabhu, Maharaj and his brother Sucha Prabhu, they've been distributing books.
There you go, they just have to utilize their
They
experience.
requested me to teach them.
Huh?
Someone should teach them.
Oh, they're not experienced. Oh, I thought you said they were the big book distributors. Well, big book distributors in this country, well, I mean, Balaram and Makanlal did a lot of book distribution, that's for sure. Tens of thousands of books they've distributed.
I remember that
Huh?
We are traveling.
When you were traveling together, you were distributing thousands of books. Many of the older devotees had a lot of this experience. Yes, Harinam.
I also experienced the Harinam Sankirtan from Bhajan, Das Prabhu. He advised us to, if we try to distribute a lot of books, we need to read it. That is the best training in Harinam Sankirtan.
They go together. Both of them serve each other. Harinam Sankirtan, if you could do Harinam Sankirtan and book distribution side by side, that's perfect. It's also perfect if you just do book distribution. It's not, I wouldn't say it's perfect if you just do Harinam. Books should always be there with a Harinam. Always. You can do books alone, but you should, I mean, if you have no choice, you do it. It's best not just to do Harinam, but there should just be books there as well, and prasadam as well if you can. Even when you do books, you still can get people to chant Hare Krishna and give them prasadam. So they're meant, the books are there to try to get people to chant Hare Krishna, to convince them deeply, not just on the spot once in the blue moon. but actually to take up the process, take it up as their life. So, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution, Ki Jai. Go pray, Commandi, and more. So let's see if you can increase the book distribution. I don't know if you keep a record of your book distribution, do you?
Yes.
How many books did you distribute last year?
Last year.
Check and see, give us the figure. I want to see at least double or treble or even 10 times it this year. It depends how many you did. You may have done more, a lot of books, I don't know. Everyone can do it, it's not difficult. You put up a book table, I don't know if you're allowed to do things like that. Put up a book table somewhere. Go to near a university, put up a book table. You sponsor the books, you know, the students. You just have a donation box there, they can give a few pesos if they want them. But you sponsor the books. Not difficult. Hare Krishna. Now it's time for prasadam. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.